All right, everybody. Hello and welcome into episode 5 of Super Metroid Strat Chat. I should be here with my co-host True Moss. Moss, can you hear me?
I'm here, Kipp.
How you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for asking. So real quick, everybody, just to kind of let you know and remind you about what this is supposed to be. SM Strat Chat is a bi-weekly show where we basically have one guest from the Super Metroid community that will come on and basically discuss, different aspects of, Super Metroid and sort of their background with the game and stuff like that. And then, in addition, we will spend some time going over strats, usually covering some kind of theme. In the past, we've done some general movement things. We did a special episode on GT Classic a little while back. And so the aim is to do these live strat chats, highlight them so people can go back and watch them as they see fit. Right now, what you see on the screen are the stats for the 4 main categories of Super Metroid between me and Moss, and we just kind of put those up there every week just so people, if people don't know who we are, it just kind of shows that we at least have some experience in all the categories, and so we like to talk about a lot of different perspectives on the game. So Moss, what have you been up to in the last couple weeks?
Today I went out and picked up for about $100 an 8-inch PVM.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah, so I'm playing tonight on this super tiny screen with amazing picture quality. So I'm very excited about that.
That's great, man. What kind is it?
It's a Sony. I can't remember the specific number at this point, but as soon as I got it, I realized, man, I got to get a bigger one right away because it's the picture quality is unreal, but it's 8 inches large, right?
Oh, that's a really small one, yeah.
Yeah, it's super tiny, but it's for tonight, it's gonna be great.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Other than that, I've just been grinding away at new route. I've basically matched my old route PB at this point. I think I'm I'm at 45.50 in old route or in new route. So we're gonna be bringing down my any percent time any day now.
Yeah, sounds like you're about to cut that really far because I mean that you got to the old route PB pretty fast.
Yeah, and that PB I missed full halfy, so there's lots of room for improvement. The worst thing is having to race against a PB with a fast Fantoon. Isn't that the worst thing in the world? Every time you get to gravity, you feel like you're always feeling like you're fighting from behind.
Sure.
So I'm kind of hoping that I can get a slow Fantoon and PB by 1 second, so that then every time I'm racing after that, I get to gravity and my time I'm ahead of the game. It just I'll probably finish more runs because of that, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's always frustrating whenever you get a really sick boss fight. In particular, Fantoon is one of the ones that you control the least. I always remember too, especially when I was doing a lot of old route stuff, if I ever got the perfect 1-round Dragon, then every time I was in Meridia, I was like, oh, here we go, right? I'm about to lose time. So, but that's great, man. Yeah, keep it up. I saw some of your streams. Looking forward to seeing some more. And, I'm going to, even though I'm not running new route at the moment, I plan to do that this year. So I'll start the process of taking notes. It'll be just like the old days.
I'm more interested in that number 5 in reverse boss order at this point.
Oh yeah, so I got a pretty lucky run. I've been working on reverse boss order the last couple weeks, and at first I was like, trying to. Oh, thank you, Shadow Puff. At first I was just trying to like go back and sweep through some of the categories before the end of January because this marks my 1 year. Like basically right now is like my 1 year anniversary of starting to run the game.
Yeah.
And I'm about to take a short break. Like I'm not gonna quit playing Super Metroid, especially off stream, but I'm gonna work on some Link to the Past stuff because I entered the No Major Glitches Link to the Past tournament just like kind of for fun. So,
awesome.
So I'm gonna do that for like the next month, but still practice. But I was kind of sweeping through the categories, trying to like lower my PBs in some areas where I thought I could have improved. And my first goal was to get a 119, and when I got there, I was like, man, I got here, but I feel like I really haven't like had like the real good run that I want yet, And
Yeah.
so then I had another one where I got like a 116, and I still was like, man, that's better, but I still don't feel like I'm quite there. And luckily, I just had like a really, what I would call an RNG positive run, and somehow managed to not like majorly botch anything. Which RBO is kind of interesting because like if you mess up in like even in like one room in the wrong place, you're gonna die. So something like 200 attempts later, I finally got the 112. So I'm really happy with that. But
so you are over a full hour above my RBO, below my RBO.
Yeah, but you've only done one run.
I did one no reset run, yeah. But you look at this list and I think one of these things is not like the other.
Well, I think everybody who knows, well, first of all, by looking at your other times and that knows your, abilities, because a lot of people have seen you play. Everybody's confident that literally within like a day or two, you could cut that by like. I mean, I honestly think you could cut like a 120 or lower in like 2 days.
Yeah, we'll see.
So,
what's up, Galamos?
So anyway, welcome in, Galamos. So real quick, guys, we're going to go ahead and transition into our guest for the evening. And let me go ahead and put his stats up on the screen. We're really excited tonight to have Edu207 or Edu207. I've heard it pronounced different ways, and we were talking about it earlier. But before, we have Edu talk about anything, I want to put an emphasis on his stats. And Edu, can you hear me? Are you there?
I am.
Okay, awesome. Welcome in, dude. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah.
And before we get into any of the questions, I don't want to like embarrass you. I kind of do this with everybody that comes on, but why
not?
Well, basically, what I wanted to point out is like you're actually responsible for a good portion of my introduction to some of the more what I refer to and what you refer to as like the challenge categories. In fact, you were literally like in my stream for like 2 hours the very first day I ever tried to run RBO, and you single-handedly got me through the Dragon fight. Do you remember that?
Remember that. The run took like 6 hours long, but it was a fun ride.
Yeah, I think 6 hours is actually being kind. I think it was more than that. But looking at Edu's times, one thing about Edu's abilities in the game that I find really impressive is that he has really good quality times, like high quality times in every category, but he has ran and I couldn't even fit all your stats on the thing, man. Like I looked them up on Discord and I literally couldn't even put them all up there. You're so, well versed in so many areas, but one of the first places that I want to start when we start talking about your times is your new any percent PAL world record. How long ago did you get that?
I think it was 2 to 3 weeks ago, but it was after a long grind.
So,
an old long grind.
Yeah, talk me through that a little bit. Like, first of all, why were you interested in... Well, let's back up. Can you explain, because even I am not fully aware, I've never played on PAL before, so can you talk through a little bit about what the difference is between the game and then kind of tell us how long it took you to work on getting to this world record?
Right. The beginning of my career with Super Metroid actually started on PAL in 2010. I know that I did my second playthrough of this game in 2011 back on ZSNES. Sorry for that. But that's because I didn't know any better. I downloaded the first ROM that I ever saw, which had the German and the French text, and I thought that was the only option. I wouldn't transition into NTSC until like 2013, 14, but I remember that before I knew what NTSC was, thanks to AGDQ 2013 and Garrison and all that stuff, Bauer on that. And I don't have the record progression for that anymore because I used to keep them on my phone that I no longer have, and I didn't have any backups. But I got to 1 hour, 2 minutes something. I don't remember what. Reminded that this was on ZSNES. But then eventually I switched to, and I got Sub-Hour and then a new emulator. And then I wouldn't touch POW again for quite some time until I got into streaming 2015. And I remember getting a 57. My first POW run was a 57, and it's still highlighted. And then I realized, like, there's this 5213 run by Behemoth that's over 6 years old. And I start analyzing that because it's so old. I wonder if I have any chance on that because nobody seems to be running this category. It was the first run that I actually analyzed to get myself a chance at a world record, and eventually it happened after a 2 to 3 month grind.
Okay, so
That was just my progression with POW.
two things on that then, because like let me start with the way that you play. The picture that we have of you that we're using, to show your stats, shows you holding what I think is a PlayStation 2 or something like that, or 3 or 4 controller. Is that correct? Okay, so you're playing on all your times have been done on emulator. Is that correct?
Closest I ever got to owning Super Metroid was staring at the game box in a gaming convention.
Well, see, that to me just blows my mind. Like, we had Galamaz on last week, and we were talking to him about how he had to play on emulator for a good portion of the Rando tournament, because his like Super Nintendo SD2 SNES thing got messed up. So like, in some ways, like I already mentioned how impressive your times are. It's, to me, it's even more mind blowing because, if you look at a lot of the top times, there's not really a ton of them that are on emulator. Most people are trying to play on, the original console with like a PVM or CRT. So, what's it like playing on emulator? Do you ever feel like it's something that sort of holds you back in any way, or is it just something that you've kind of grown accustomed to?
As of now, it doesn't hold me back, but I'm pretty sure that whenever I get a console with a nice TV and good controls to play with, I'm gonna age all the time that I spent with input lag on emulator because it's been so long. It's been 2 different laptops, 3 controllers, 3 different emulators, and a lot of frustration in between.
I can imagine. Well, that's, like I said, man, that's even more impressive. So, all right, so help us out real quick, and you might not have all the technical answers, but like for PAL, I know that it's basically the same game. Like, I don't think there's like any different items or anything like that, but the PAL leaderboard is obviously a lot slower, but it's not because of skill, it's because of the way the game runs. Is that correct?
It is. Even though the game runs at 50 FPS, and there's this thing that uh, when the game is on the POW region, they make the character move faster to accommodate. But overall, that always ends making the game slower, and Super Metroid is no different because the doors open slower, the door transitions take longer, the item fanfares take longer, some of the bosses take longer to show up. However, it is possible to do more things on POW. For instance, there's the 2 exclusive low percent categories, and you can skip the Bump Chorizo fight humanly.
Yeah, we got to talk about that at some point.
Yeah, go ahead, Moss.
Well, I mean, it's something that if you've never played PAL, it's just like you hear of this mythical idea of the BT skip, right? I mean, I watched your world record run, and I see that you skipped the BT there. Like, how hard is it?
Well, that is the easy setup that was introduced to me via Toto's runs, who holds the record for Ice Boots, one of the 14% categories for PAL. What I used to do was I would blow the egg open, and then I would just rush through the bomb and try to turn left instant. So Samus would be almost facing to the left. And then I would arm pump my way out to the door. But even though that's a rush and go method, it may not be consistent. It's kind of when you grab the bomb and you need more arm pumps to get out. But then when you have the setup with Toto, like you just approach the bomb and you do a spin jump, and then before you land left, which then extends your hitbox to touch the bomb, but at the same time you're also going left. That's going to require less arm pumps to leave the room.
Yeah,
and even
right.
then, you have to do an amount of arm pumps, and you have to jump at the right place, and maybe you're going to need to door check, like
Yeah.
turn to the right to leave the room.
Yeah, because you see a task do it, and like there's a door check and there's also an item check, right? Like to get the item in the first place, you basically do the same thing, right?
Right, you're taking advantage of the hitboxes by turning at the right time.
So how fast do you have to arm pump in order to get out?
Told that with this setup of the dropping down and then turning, you need at least 4 arm pumps to leave, which doesn't sound like a lot, but considering that you move faster on POW horizontally, you have less time to do that, and you have to do that before the jump. And it's quite the space between the bomb and the spot where you have to jump. So
Sure.
I think it's quite tight.
So like, what's the reset percentage, would you say, for your runs when you were doing your like how often would you have to reset at BT?
When I had the 57 and I started the grind back in early October, I wasn't considering BT skip at all. But when I got to 53 level, I decided, well, I'm gonna bring out all the guns. I'm not gonna go pass a run unless I get the BT skip. And I'm pretty sure I reset one every 4 out of 5 times. That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
And then after a point, I decided, you know what? I don't need BT skip. And then I realized that I needed it, and I went back to it.
Right.
Okay, so real quick, you mentioned the fact, like, that it's more complex. The 4 arm pumps is more complex than most players realize because, on PAL it's different. And, probably the vast majority of us are playing, NTSC and have never even touched PAL. So talk to us a little bit about, the adjustment period. Like, you already, when you started this grind several months ago, I mean, you'd already spent, thousands and thousands and hours of time into the game and had like all these times on NTSC. Is it a big adjustment to, change your muscle memory because of the way that she moves on that version? Like, how long did it take you to kind of get accustomed to it?
Yeah, I see that people find it impressive that I can switch to NTSC, to POW, and then back to NTSC with relatively no problem. But then starting on POW and playing exclusively on POW for 2 years on a bad emulator helps the case, because I'm pretty sure that at this point I played NTSC way more. But then going back to POW wasn't that miserable. I just the biggest adjustment is just waiting for the doors to open. You don't want to bonk them, and know where the enemies spawn, because some rooms behave differently. Like, for example, people get a jaw drop when they see Phantoon's patterns. Like, why is Phantoon opening there? Oh, right, this is POW. Why is Dragon taking forever to show up? Why is Ridley so slow? Why does it take forever to charge the beam? That's all the fundamental things that you need to remember. And I'm not a guy who knows strats that much, so I kind of just take the basics and go with it and adapt to it.
Gotcha. Okay, so before we transition, I definitely want to talk to you about a lot of your other times and stuff like that and your experience with Super Metroid, but let's go back, even further into the past. Can you talk a little bit about, like, not just your introduction to speedrunning, but just gaming in general? Like, how did you get into playing video games, and then how did you transition into speedrunning? Like, were there other games that you ran before this one? Or, like, what was your path that ended up leading you to Super Metroid?
All right, I'm gonna make it short. The only console I ever had was a Super Nintendo, and I owned no more than 6 games on it, Super Metroid not included. The game that I played the most was actually Mega Man X. I played it so much that it stopped working at some point. And then, because I played video games too much when I was 7 to 8 years old, I got grounded, blah, 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 and I didn't play a single video game for 5 years. And then, at some point, I was dumb enough to lend all my SNES games to a guy, and then I lend the console and the controls to another guy, which I consider best friends in school, and then I just got wrecked.
Okay,
No more
hold
consoles,
on.
no more games, no more controllers.
Hold on, before we continue, I have two questions that I have to know the answer to. Okay, did you just say that you got grounded for 5 years?
Well, I wasn't technically grounded for all that time, but I didn't feel the need to play a game for that long.
Gotcha. I
And
was
when I did, I went back to emulator anyway.
I was about to say now I completely understand how you're so disciplined in the game. But secondly, you played a lot of Mega Man X. That's what you said, correct?
Yes.
So, like, I can't remember what your control scheme is in Super Metroid, but I remember when I started, like, when this game literally came out in 1994 and I rented it for the first time, the first thing that I did was change the control scheme to, like, the Mega Man X control scheme where A was dash and B was jump and Y was shoot. Did you ever play this game that way, or, like, what's your controller setup?
Never changed the controls to any game that I play for some reason. I never feel the need that I have to jump on B with every game. Like, whatever Mega Man X gave to me, I just went with it. Whatever Super Metroid gave to me, I just went with it. I play on default on every game.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So, anyway, continue with your story about gaming.
Though I had my Super Nintendo and I could play at any time, I found the piracy world of emulator and I decided to download me some games. I downloaded Mega Man 1 through 6 on the NES. Like, NES, that's new territory. All the Mega Man games that I could find 1 through 6, X1, X2, X3, and like nothing else. And this is about the only time where I abused save states for anything because it was on the SNES, and I remember there were 10 slots for things you could do. And each of them was like a shortcut from a password. Like, instead of putting a password, I would just have right to that area. But nothing that I would practice. I was not speedrunning per se until 2006 and 7, which I actually got interested in speedrunning, but not because of a community, just because the game was appealing to me, and that was Super Mario Kart.
Oh, nice.
That was my original speed game, yes. I played that on the SNES and on keyboard somehow. And Excel sheet that I haven't updated since 2009, and right now, like casually sometime when I'm playing Super Mario Kart, I still can't beat those times today. I was 12 years old. I can't beat those times. I can't beat my 12-year-old self.
So we can literally call you a prodigy then, I guess, huh?
Keyboard, and that was such a weird control scheme. I'm not even gonna say anything about it. Yeah, that was my first speed game. I wouldn't play Super Metroid until 2010. The thing I remember from my first playthrough is that it was 8 hours, 2 minutes in game time. I
Which
remember,
that's probably faster than a lot of people's in game time the first time they play the game.
but I didn't have any intention of speedrunning Super Metroid. In fact, I actually wanted to play the Mega Man games in a speedy way, especially the NES games, especially Mega Man 3. That one had the most appeal. And I sent all my Super Mario Kart times to the leaderboards, which are still active today. I had to send them to a guy in Netherlands via Outlook Express. It was it was so awesome. In one of the GDQs, there was a race between two guys. One of those was actually the admin for the leaderboards, Sami Setting, I think that's how you say it. And the other was KVD, which stands for Karel van Duijvenboden, the Dutch runner who holds the record for almost anything. And he goes by SMK Machine nowadays. And I was like, those two guys racing, and they finish like on the frame. Watch that. It's
Seen. I thought I was wondering if that was the race, the one where they like basically tied the race at the end.
frame to the half a second they finish. Seeing those two guys was like awesome. But yeah. And then to speedrun Super Metroid, but while I'm pretty sure that I only played any percent and occasionally 100% for a while. And then I started to delve into other games to speedrun. Super Castlevania 4, Super Mario World was one of those. Like, the list is quite big. NES, Mega Man games, and then Super Nintendo. But other than speedrunning, I also consider myself to be a challenge runner. Like I don't just want to do something fast. I want to do something that's hard
Hmm.
and maybe fast in the meantime. So I also try to do some shoot 'em ups like Gradius 3 and UN Squadron, No Deaths. Like uh, the hardest difficulty for a game. What's the hardest challenge that I can impose myself of doing to a game? That's what I would usually do. And I started streaming in October 2015, and I started doing the challenge runs in or when I streamed. Like I finished my first low percent run on stream thanks to the help of Fuzda. It was 2.5 hours long. And I did RBO before that, but having people watch you makes you want to do hard stuff because you always want to show people how badass you are at games, and I finally had my chance.
Okay, so I want to like expand on this for a minute because that's something I really wanted to ask you about. Like, part of the purpose of this whole Strat Chat is, you know, basically to try to encourage people to improve no matter where they are on the spectrum of skill or time or whatever. And one thing that really stuck with me, like I started running last January and I did only any percent old route, and I told myself I would only do that until I got to a sub 50 time, and then as soon as I got that, I started wanting to branch out and try other things. And one thing that always stuck with me was like, specifically, I hung out in your stream a good bit. You came in mine sometimes and helped me out with stuff, and like you talked about the importance of challenge running within the context of even just Super Metroid. It's one thing to go fast, with all the different abilities and power ups and stuff, but it's another thing to like understand the game on a different level and be able to pull off different kinds of runs like RBO, like low percent, whether it be ice speed or any other type. Can you just expand a little bit? Like, I think it's very important. I think that my skill set in the game increased tremendously by forcing myself to try some of these other categories. Can you just expand a little bit on why you think it would be good for the growth of players to consider learning, some of these other categories?
Most people are set to the belief that any percent and 100% are the only categories that matter, but that's I don't think that's true. With Super Metroid, it's such a flexible game. It would be such a waste to not do what it offers, like low percent. Get a lot of the items and see how much you fare. Really, and Mother Brain are going to be a challenge, and you know that. RBO, like, man, don't you wish you could beat the game without any suits? That's swag. Why don't you do that while beating the bosses in reverse order? It's possible, and if you don't watch any tutorials or anything, like, it's recommended that you try to do a category for the first time blind. Like, it's possible. Go do it. Have any idea what you're doing, but do it, get all the items, save a lot, and just try to have a first organic play. After that, if you want to practice, go nuts. But if for the first time, I think it's cool to challenge yourself in a way that initially you may think, oh, I can't do that, but then you go further and you realize you can, and that's what drives you to finish the category, and that makes you think, man, I wonder how am I gonna fare into those more popular categories now? My movement has certainly improved. Can I try 80% and 100% now? And then I guarantee you're gonna notice the results.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. It was something I noticed like when I started doing low percent. As soon as I spent a couple of months playing low percent, and as soon as I switched back and started doing an any percent, when I grabbed high jump, it felt like I was jumping higher than I'd ever jumped before. Like before when I was playing any percent before and I would get high jump, felt like I was jumping higher than that, and it just felt like, I've been working so hard at my jumps and my wall jumps because of not picking up high jump that all of a sudden, like, all the strats I used to do just felt like free, essentially.
And here's a nice quote that I'm not sure where it came from, but it might make some sense to you. In any percent, you beat the game, but in low percent, you play the game. Like you make the game a challenge again. I remember when I could never finish low percent. Like before streaming, I know that I was trying low percent, and I would get to Mother Brain 2 most of the time, and I could not beat her, mostly because of catch-up. My reaction time alongside the lag from emulator that I'm pretty much numb to at this point wasn't helping me. So there were a lot of frustrated attempts until the fateful day where I decided to stream low percent ice, and this magical Fusa dude tells me that I can pseudo screw through the catch-up, and then I do it first try after that. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yes.
People call that a very cheesy strat.
Speaking of which, I guess we should point this out. So we had in 2017, two really big, excellent Super Metroid events for the community where we had, a relay in the summer and then we had a relay in the winter. And probably the most remembered moment of the summer relay was when you were the last man standing, like, you were the last person running and you were running low ice and you did all those like pseudo screw strats through the catch-up on the Mother Brain 2 fight. And there were a lot of people, myself included, that I literally had no idea that was possible.
I didn't know that until right now.
Yeah.
Actually.
So like you've got hundreds of people watching, and then he does this, and like everybody is convinced that he's dead, right? And then he lives, and at that moment it was just like there's even a picture that always gets brought up on the Discord that shows Edu doing this. So like, I guess my question around that would be like, when you learn that, did that maybe start getting you to thinking about other things that you could do in the game? Because like I know there have been times where I figured a trick out and then it's led me to like another trick later.
Oh, definitely, because like I said, my first finished low percent run was 2.5 hours. The description of that vid even says that I will never play that category again because it sucks, I hate it, it's stressful. And then the next day, 5.
Nice.
I couldn't keep my promise for one day. And then I kept grinding that category, and I thought, I gotta try that. I can beat 200 shots Mother Brain, why not 300? All I need to do is learn Zeb Skip, which might take a while, and then I'm good. And I finished that, and eventually I got more mad with the game, if you know what I'm saying. Like, before streaming, it was only 80%, 100% RBO, maybe GT Classic, but then I felt the need to be a masochist, and after the low percent, I started to mix things together. Like, maybe I could do reverse boss order with as few items as possible. Maybe I could do damageless. Maybe I could do RBO without doing a single crystal flash. Those things happened. There's a lot of stupid things in my backlog.
Yeah, dude, that's completely absurd, by the way. Like, the low percent RBO stuff is completely ridiculous.
The best that anyone's ever done. Like, I got 28 items, but there are people that got 25, 24. But that's as low as I'm going, because the point is not to challenge myself to the limit, but to my limit.
Yeah.
Pushing myself too hard.
Which I think, I'm glad you said that, because clearly, I mean, I keep going back to this. You have great times in all the categories, and everybody knows that you're, a top-notch runner. But I like the fact that you just mentioned, I think it's really important that new runners especially consider that, like, it's not really about trying to compare yourself to anybody else or try to get a certain time to necessarily beat anybody else. It's really more like trying to find ways for yourself to grow constantly, and like you said, pushing your individual self, as far as you can go in certain categories. And that doesn't necessarily mean you got to sit down and grind like one category for a year straight just to get like one run or something like that. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Okay, so let me ask you a more fun question real quick, because you were talking about low ice. Personally, for me, that's my favorite category to run. And what I mean by that is, like, that's the one that I have the most fun doing, and the one that I feel, I guess, the most accomplished. Even if I don't have a great time, just the fact that I finished always feels like it was a good challenge. What is your favorite category in terms of just like, feeling good to run it or enjoying yourself while you do it?
First of all, I was gonna say you're crazy for low percent being your favorite category.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I don't think I would say that, because low percent feels pretty natural most of the time. This is not a very well-known opinion of mine, but I enjoy playing Hundo. Hundo that kicks in. I think it's the the fact that there is very low risk of dying, even though I can't seem to PB anymore. Like today, January 25th, my Hundo PB is 2 years old. Years old. And I've been trying to play Hundo and I just can't PB. But during all that time, I'm like, I don't care. I'm 1 minute behind at gravity. I just want to beat the game. That's the category that I play when I'm going to chill mode, 100%. So maybe that's my favorite. People say I'm an RBO freak because of all the things I've done with it and all the people I taught little strats and all that stuff. But deep inside, I think Hundo would be my favorite.
Nice. Hey, Mitch, since you mentioned that, I got to know because I can't remember if I have this straight or not. But, like, okay, the very first time that I ever completed an RBO run, I basically kind of did it like you. I mean, I had seen people run it, but I had never really looked at, like, the strats and stuff. So, in particular, when I finally made it to Dragon, I had no idea, like, how to do the fight. And I did it in a way that was way different than I do it now. But that's because you, like, literally spent a bunch of time talking me through how to get picked up and then released at the top of the room and then like firing these shots to kill her. Now, did you find that strat or was that something that somebody taught you? Because I've never seen anybody else do it. Like you were the only person that like explained it to me. So like where did that come from?
Really come up with a strat, especially ones as complicated as this one. Like I would never figure out for myself that you need to tap the D-pad 60 times to let Dragon let go off of you. So I knew about that one beforehand, and much like the pseudo screw and catch up, it's not way too used to. Like all the RPO runs that I did before streaming was with that strat by sniping Dragon on that top platform, and where I was on a good pace after killing Dragon, and on the way back I just fell into the sand and died. The name of the highlight is "This is what I get for refusing to learn the good strats," aka the grapple escape. So eventually, one day I learned that, but
okay, so wait.
I think about that side of yours, like the 60th D-pad input, and then you let go at the platform, and then that "Let's go, baby."
So wait, just for context, the reason you fell in the sand is because you didn't have space jump, correct?
Jump as a result.
Yeah, so basically with that strat, you can't get space jump because you get dropped off up there, and then you can't get down there to get the items. So you have to finish that way. Plus, like that strat, while it's very cool, like it's neat that you can do it. If you're actually going for time, it's kind of rough because you have to just kind of like hope to hit a shot up there, right? And it's not a super wide window. But okay, I have one more question that I planned in advance that I wanted to ask you about, and then Moss, I'll let you ask anything that you want to ask. There's kind of like this thing that you've created in the community that, like, people mention it sometimes, but I really think it's cool. You came up with a spreadsheet of combining people's times in like various categories and then using like certain formulas to kind of show like a rank, so to speak, across all categories. And at first I remember you included RBO, but then you kind of took it out because of how big of variance there is in that one in particular, and how like some runners don't even have times. So can you just tell us a little bit about what that sheet is? I just call it like the Edu sheet or whatever. Can you just kind of talk us through what it is and like how you put it together?
Right. I always liked the idea of a general leaderboard. One good example from that is the Elite.net, where they keep the records for the GoldenEye and Perfect Dark runs. Like you can see the records there, but they also have points attributed to them. So in a way, you can kind of see a general score of the best players, who has the most records, so they have the more points. And I wanted to try one for Super Metroid, but I never had any ideas. Then eventually a guy came on the Discord with this idea by using a mathematical formula and something, and eventually Rumble Minza was the first one to he most major categories, if you will, 80%, 100%, low percent, and RBO, put them all together, did some kind of algorithm, and then showed us the whole thing. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. But what formula is being used? That's never going to be updated again. And since nobody's going to do that, I decided to make my own. arbitrary. It's very linear. But basically, what I do is for any percent, 100%, and low percent, just these three, the trifecta. I get all the people that have their time submitted on these three categories, which at this point is around 45 or something. Times in there, and then I compare them to the world record. How? I divide the world record by their PB. If you have the world record, you're gonna get 1 point. And if you have 3 points, that means you have world record for all three categories, but that's not the case right now. And then I did that for everyone. I put the sum all together and then made a leaderboard out of that. It's updated manually. It's been a while since I've done that. I don't know how to do web development yet, but if I did, I'm pretty sure I would put that up. But it's an interesting thing. When people request, I may update the times, but it's not something that I do so frequently now, especially now when there's more people going into the leaderboards. Like, for example, it's frustrating to see that Cat, he's a top 80%, low percent runner, but he doesn't have a hundo time. Behemoth, he's got the record for any percent in hundo, but he's not on the low percent. Like, I wish I could see these names more.
Yeah,
the top runners that are like in one category. Yeah,
For sure.
No, for Overfiend, I have a cheat. I put his any percent time as the low percent time.
Yeah.
And he still wrecks most people.
That's crazy. Like, that's his any percent time. I mean, technically it is an any percent time, right? Every run is technically any percent, and yet it's still really fast.
So funny.
I have one with 4 categories, but it's still there. I just don't update it as much with RBO because, like you said, the variance is really big. It's very flexible, so many routes. The other ones are more straightforward. So as for now, I just keep it as a trifecta, which is
great.
It's good
It plays
enough.
to my advantage. My RBO time is so terrible. It plays to my advantage.
Oh yeah, you're pretty up there. And that's the fun thing. The new runners, like, you always expect to see up there a Zost, an Oates, a Kat, a Surinam, the old schoolers. When you see these new guys, like you see the Kipp, the Moss, the Slaughters, and then the Pharaohs, like, where are these nerds coming from? I've been here for longer. Why are they suddenly better?
Well, I mean, I've said this before, and I mentioned this in my first RBO run. I basically have 3 people that I have referred to as like sensei at different points for different reasons throughout my Super Metroid runs in the last year of learning the game. And Sloters is one of them, True Moss is one of them, and then you were the third one. And so I guess what's the saying? Something like, if a teacher doesn't teach the student how to surpass, then they're not doing as good of a job as they could. So I guess anytime you see someone that you help improve, I mean, that's got to be a pretty good feeling, I would imagine.
To be of help to so many people and knowing that they're actually improving in their times. And, the effort is all theirs. And you just can't help but feel glad for them when they do when they reach a milestone.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, obviously for me, and I'm sure I can speak for a lot of other people, but, I really appreciate all your contributions. And I think and I can even say this about you, Moss, because we've talked about this before. I think you guys sort of embody what I love about the Super Metroid community, which is, it's a really competitive community in terms of, like, the game is very difficult. And, when you start getting into the top times, like, a lot of these people are incredibly gifted and work really hard, but everybody is, like, rooting for each other and so willing and giving, and helping everybody else. So I think that's really awesome that our community's set up like that. Trumos, do you have any other questions for Edu?
Not really. I mean, I'm really impressed with all the stuff you said. The stuff like, you gotta don't remember exactly how you worded it, but it was like you have to go for your own personal best, essentially. Not I don't know. I can't remember. Kipp, do you remember exactly how he worded it? It
was like the idea of challenging yourself to your limit, not necessarily the limit of the game or the limit of somebody else. Like, finding your sort of ceiling at any given moment in time and kind of trying to reach that.
Yeah, and that's essentially like the mantra of the Strat chat, effectively. So it's really nice that you mentioned that.
I accidentally did it.
Well, that I would expect nothing less from you. So, Edu, before we let you go, is there anything else? We actually have. I'm gonna throw this out there, not to put you on the spot, but I think this is the most popular Strat Chat we've ever had right now. We're at 42 viewers. I can only imagine that it's because of you. So, do you have anything that you would like to say to everyone before you head out?
Well, to be fair, I actually said that I was gonna be here. Runs Brazil, and yes, to all those people that don't know, I am from Brazil, and I actually lied to you before, Kipp, because I'm actually on the chat. I'm checking everything they said, and I recognize some names from there, and I know they're here. Like, wanna hear the sound of my voice because they don't get to hear my voice that often on my streams anymore due to some technical and personal issues and whatever. So I'm glad they're here for that, and all the Super Metroid people as well, because it's really fun interacting with most people, and that was a great opportunity for that. I didn't expect it to be this fun.
Cool, man. Well, on behalf of both me and Moss, we truly appreciate you taking time to come on and speak with us. We'll do it again sometime, and thank you for all your contributions. And before you head out, several people were asking for a link to your, leaderboard or whatever. So if you want to, feel free to post that and anything else that you like in the chat.
Well, sadly, there's not a link. It's not available anywhere. I didn't release that in a Google Docs form yet.
Well, how about this? I've seen it, everybody, so that makes me in an exclusive club. All right, Edu. Well, we're gonna head on to the strat portion. So thank you so much, dude. We will catch you later, and have a good evening, man.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Gonna catch you all now.
Cool. All right, so Moss, I will call you back shortly. We'll get you set up, and then we'll start the strats.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. All right, everybody. So once again, huge thank you to Edu. If you don't follow him, you've got I'm sure everybody here follows him, but we got a lot of huge Edu fans. But his Twitch account information is listed right there on your screen. Make sure to give him a follow. Check him out anytime that he's streaming or around. And you can learn a lot from the guy. He knows a whole lot about the game. All right, so let me get Moss back on the line here. All right, so. I just heard my own echo there. Okay, cool. Moss, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and share your screen with me, and let me see if I can get that set up. All right. Very good. Okay, and just a warning to you and to everybody else, for some reason every single week it seems to shift around a little bit, so I might have to do a little bit of adjustment as Moss starts his portion. But anyway, we're going to move on, and tonight what we want to put a little bit of emphasis on is the idea of ammo management. There's a lot of things about this game that you have to think about when you're running really any category, and so what we're trying to tailor our strat chats around is the idea that number one, it doesn't really matter what time you have in really any category. There's always new things to learn and ways to improve. So we're going to try to give you guys some things to think about and consider in terms of how we've approached ammo management, and we're going to kind of look at it from the perspective of old route for right now, just to make it simple, although I will throw in, and Moss will throw in a few concepts for other categories. But we also have a ton of really gifted and top runners in the chat, so guys, you feel free obviously to add commentary to what we're saying. We just want to make this very friendly towards not only experienced players but newer ones as well. So let me see real quick, Moss, if I've got you. Okay, I do. Everything's looking fine. So I'm going to start real quick with one thing that I want to show about ammo management at the beginning of the game. And so what I have is I have a save state set up that's in Terminator, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn on the music for my screen, so you'll be able to hear some of the game sounds. Let me turn it down just a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is, you're in Terminator, and if you happen to be able to get like enough running speed to do the Terminator strat where you can kind of just shoot all these gamers, what's going to end up happening is a lot of times you'll see people, and I can't do it as good as the masters, but you can essentially shoot a missile right around here, like right around here where this little mushroom is, where you see this kind of like little sprout coming off on the side. You can shoot a regular missile and then deselect and shoot a regular shot to, number one, kill a waiver, and then number two, open the door. So by the time you run into the E-Tank, most of the time you're going to have a missile drop, because if you enter this room with full health, like if you leave BT with full health and don't get hit by anything, then you can basically, get through this room pretty fast and still leave with 5 missiles. So I want to show that before I get down to the... I'm sorry, I messed the strat up. I want to show that before I get down to the pirates, but essentially I think you take 9 shots, and then you shoot kind of like that. And then as soon as the fanfare breaks, if you fire off another missile, you'll kill the last waiver while simultaneously picking up that missile drop, which will enter this room with 5 missiles. So it's a pretty good strat to learn. There's different ways that you can set it up. I remember actually last night watching Zos do this when he was streaming, and I think he goes to some kind of piano grip for the room.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah, which I actually think is easier. I've never done it that way. I just learned it with my thumb, but I think I'm going to start utilizing that. So that's one thing that you can work on. At first it's a little awkward or maybe a little difficult, but once you kind of get the timing of it, it works pretty well. So anyway, now to this...
One little thing to
ahead.
add. I mean, if... so these waivers, they generally drop missiles if you have 100 health, or 100 health. But there is I think a 2% chance that they drop nothing, and it does happen.
Yeah.
Now you'll notice that like when you grab the E-Tank, you might notice already that the waiver has not spawned a missile. And if that happens, all you have to do is just fire the next missile like you normally would, and then stop on a dime. So hit your angle button just for an instant, and most likely the second waiver will drop a missile, and you can grab that one. So you can kind of tell usually, because generally when you grab the E-Tank, you'll see the missile that's been dropped by the first waiver. And if you don't see it, you can kind of go into a backup there.
Yeah, and so to your point, and also I see John makes a point, so let me try to explain for a moment how ammo management works in this game, and I'm going to keep this like very simple. There's way more complex. We could go into the math and all that, but you can manipulate the drops to a certain degree in this game. But there are still situations where you can't 100% control what a drop will be, even though you set it up. Like there are certain creatures in this game that might have like a super drop 99.6% of the time or something. So you kind of build into the run your idea that they're going to drop supers, but then just every so often when you need a super, they'll still give you like a health or something. So you can't 100% control every single thing, but it's important to understand that like there are key moments where you might want to have full health because you want to push the drops, to hopefully get like ammo instead of health or something like that. So in this particular room, in the pirate room, in old route, most of the time what people are going to do is just simply run through the pirates. And if you run into one, you'll have enough iframes to get through the second one, so that by the time you get to the bottom, you've been hit 3 times for, I think, 20 health apiece, so you're at 139, but you still have full missiles, which means that you can basically fall off the elevator in Green Brinstar, immediately open the doors, and go on. But in a lot of categories like, new route or low ice and, various other things, like I even do this in RBO because I have a certain setup that I'm trying to do. A lot of times people will want to enter this room with full health and then not ever get hit. They want to actually maintain their health because they're not planning to get like a crate E-Tank immediately with the route that old route is. So what most people will do is they will equip their missiles and then kill all these pirates. And what you need to know about this room, this is just the basic simple way of understanding it, is you want to get down to the bottom with 2 missiles left, but there are 5 pirates. So that basically means that you want to pick up like one of these drops. So most of the time, what people will do is they'll immediately run through the first one and not worry about the drop, and then try to farm the second one, okay? And then that will end up putting us at 2 missiles at the bottom, okay? However, if for some reason, like the reason you don't want to pick up the first one with this setup is because if the first guy drops a missile and you refill back to 5, and then you try to shoot through every single one of them, then you end up with only 1. Now, you can technically do that. There's different strats you can have at the bottom of Green Brinstar at the elevator, but the main thing I kind of want to put an emphasis on, especially for newer runners, is I take an approach a lot of times with strats that I'm trying to find maybe the easiest way, the path of least resistance, to have the most consistent way to not majorly screw something up. And then obviously as you improve and you go for more top times, then you start, cutting time in other areas. But basically it's going to be a lot easier with the basic strat that I think is the most easiest to run at the elevator, to go ahead and have 2 missiles. So if you end up doing this, you can run through the first guy, wait on the second guy, and then keep going. If for some reason the second guy doesn't drop a missile, kill the third guy, wait a second, grab his drop, and you have basically 4 chances at it because you have the second, third, fourth, and fifth pirates. So if you end up going down this elevator with only 2 missiles, let me go ahead and head down here and show you a pretty simple strat that should farm you all the way back to 5. But notice that, the idea of ammo management that we want to put emphasis on is you really have to think about your health. So part of what you're trying to do by running this strat is maintain full health as you end up down the elevator. So right now I have 199, which is the most I can have at this juncture because I've only picked up 1 E-tank and I've got 2 missiles. So the easiest strat you can run here, probably to get your missiles back, is to first and foremost fall off this and just shoot this guy twice, okay? And the vast majority of the time he's going to drop a missile. Then what you want to do is select your missiles, and what I do is I angle down and crouch usually and shoot this guy, and that way both of them drop. I can pick them both up and fall, and I'm back to 5. So let me see if I can do it a few times here. Whoops, I'm already forgetting what strat I'm running. So boom, I'm at 2. I fire 1 to get down to 1, but I get 2 drops, which they're worth 2 each, so that's 4. So this is just something that you can kind of be aware of. This is a very, I would say, beginner-friendly strat. Once you get used to it, to maintain your health and your ammo count in order to get in this first door. However, if you're running old route, then you can just run straight through the pirates, have your 5 missiles, and then basically just fall down there and open stuff up. All right.
I'm pretty sure that those Zeelas, those enemies that you just killed in that room, they have a 0% chance to drop nothing. So if you're at full health, you are essentially guaranteed missiles from both of them. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So I don't think I've ever, if I've been at full health, I don't think I've ever not gotten a missile drop from them.
Yeah, and I've even had situations, I think their missile percentage, again, I don't know the percentage of every single creature in the game.
50%.
Yeah, a lot of times, it's a bit of a coin flip. Even if you mess up somehow and enter that room without full health and without full missiles, which has happened to me over multiple runs, a lot of times you can still get what you need, though, because you have that percentage chance. So, all right, Moss, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, and I'll kind of fill in some of the gaps as we go.
Great.
Go right ahead.
Okay. What's up, everybody? So the first couple of things that we should talk a little bit about is just understanding places where you're essentially guaranteed drops, specific drops. There's definitely going to be situations where you're going to need supers or you're going to need power bombs, and having a guaranteed, or when I say guaranteed, I mean over 99% chance of getting a certain drop. That helps you kind of plan for the future. So I put a little, I'm going to put a little thing up here. Ooh, it's this guy. Okay, so probably the 2 biggest items that you have to watch out for ammo is supers and power bombs. So for supers, there are 3 enemies that give nearly 99% chance of drops. The most important one is the cack attacks. So it's 99%. It's actually 101% out of 102%. But essentially, we're going to call it basically every single time. It's very, very unlikely that you're not going to get a super from a Cack Attack. Mini Kraid also drops missiles. Mini Kraid drops 5 super missiles. He drops 4 in one chunk, and then if you wait around a little bit longer, you get a 5th one. So on your way into Mini Kraid and your way into Kraid and your way out, you can essentially always fill up on supers right there. Another one is that POW amps also have the same drop percentage for supers. It's not that handy to know that one. If you're really dire on supers when you're coming up to Botch Wound, it would take a little bit of time to get supers from those POW amps. But, depending on the situation, maybe you'd want to do that. For power bombs, there's a lot more. So probably the one that people know the most is the B-Toms, which are the frogs. So Frog Speedway is a really good place to stock up on power bombs. All of these enemies, Alcoons, Violas, Zeros, the small Deskigas, the Bulls, and Fire Fleas, they all have a basically 99% chance of dropping. And for power bombs, the other enemy that people really tend to farm off of is the crabs or the sizers. They have about a 60% chance to drop. So pretty good chance, but sometimes it just doesn't work out with those guys. So it's good to understand that on your way through through this category, knowing where you're going to be picking up supers, where you're going to be picking up power bombs. If you're low on supers or power bombs, knowing where you're essentially guaranteed these things. That's probably it's very important. I'm going to let my dog out. He wants to go outside. Hang on 1 second, guys. Okay, go. Okay. So, the way I want to kind of talk about health and ammo management is I think the best thing to do is essentially talk about the minimum that you can get through an area safely. And then if you feel you need more because you feel that you might mess up and, shoot a super into a wall or something like that, then you have extra. I think that probably the best place to start talking about ammo management is probably right here at the pit stop. Kipp, do you think that there's any places really before this where you're going to have a lot of issue with health and ammo management?
Well, I wouldn't say a lot. But I think, you made the point earlier about Kraid. Yeah. And so I think it would be important for people to know, especially if you're a beginning player, you need to be aware of how many missiles you need on the way in and on the way out of Kraid. And one thing that I did when I first started was sometimes, like you mentioned, Mini Kraid's going to drop those 4 supers or whatever. Be aware that if you have extra supers, that you can use those against the pirates as well, as long as you have enough to kill Mini Kraid and get back to full. I mean, you're essentially trying your best to stay at 5 supers before Kraid, but you also want to have as many regular missiles as possible, because let's say you get bad drops once Kraid dies, and you don't want to have to waste time pseudo screwing or charge shotting or whatever the pirates on the way out. So it's just something to kind of think about. Just remember that in that segment you can use supers on the regular pirates as well, to try to maintain certain counts.
Yeah, absolutely. Pit stop's probably the most important place. Kraid, getting through Kraid, the game is actually pretty good at setting it up that you don't really have to stop. And if you do things properly, you should most of the time have enough ammo to finish Kraid and move on. So this is a good place to start talking, because the pit stop is where you can essentially farm all the way back up to full health and ammo quickly. So I would say that the bare minimum in this location is, let's actually go down to the minimum. I would say that if I have 7 missiles and 1 super, that's probably my floor. If I like to leave here with at least 1 super. If you have 1 super here, it means that you don't have to get lucky. You have enough supers to get through to Fantoon. That's if you're planning to use a super for Ocean Fly. You can change things up and use a missile instead if you want to do Ocean Fly, or if you're skipping Ocean Fly, then you can kind of change that. But going for most of the big strats, you want to have one super and to get through the next area. If I have two supers, it doesn't really matter how many missiles I have. If I have two supers, I'm just out the door. So I'm going to save right here. We're going to go with 7 and 1, which is, like I said, pretty much bare minimum. One thing that I would suggest new players to spend time practicing is if you're practicing segments. So let's say we're practicing from right here all the way through to getting to the wrecked ship or getting to Phantoon. I mean, that's a long section, but whatever. Practicing it, setting up with like a worst case scenario is a really good thing to practice. So if you are going to start from this area, setting it up so, because with the practice ROM, it's really easy to just refill everything. And every time you practice, you're coming through with full health and ammo. So it's good to set up a realistic situation. And in fact, like a worst case scenario is a really good thing to practice, because then if you're in that situation in a run, you know what you're going to be doing. So let's, so I would suggest set up a worst case scenario, 7 and 1, and we'll go from here. So, coming through this next area, the reason I use 7 as my minimum, I mean, you can do 5. 5 is actually really the absolute minimum. But if you're going to missile this door coming up, you kind of want to kill these two guys. I actually missed a missile there. 1, 2. Because it reduces a lot of lag in this room. This room gets crazy laggy if you're not killing anything. Like, it's really laggy. So I usually kill 2 things if I'm going to be using a missile strat through this room. But if you have 1 super, you don't have to shoot anything. All right. So you pick up your 5 missiles. That gets you through the next door again. After this point in the run, this is kind of this is the end of where I'm worrying really about missiles. What do you think, Kipp? I mean, it depends on if you're going to be missiling Phantoon, but I always X-Factored Phantoon. So at this point, like, if I'm not really that concerned with how many missiles I have for pretty much the rest of the run.
Well, yeah, I would say, especially as you get more accustomed to the game and more comfortable with everything and understanding your counts, you kind of know your thresholds and can adjust and sort of farm on the fly in some of these rooms. But I have seen, like, especially newer players, because, I think one thing that is important for, like, everybody in the community to remember, especially when talking with other players, is, everybody's coming at this thing with a different level of experience. There have been plenty of times where in the past, when I was new, or I've seen other newer runners accidentally run out of super missiles and can't even get into wreck ship.
Yes.
So what I would say is, from a mentality point of view, and again, we're talking about old route right now, but it's more of a philosophical thing that you then apply to other runs. Like, you really need to be thinking pretty far into the future for the run. At this point, like, I'm not saying that you got to have a specific number as you leave Bubble Mountain, but at the same time, you want to be cognizant of, like, oh man, I don't have any supers or something like that. Like, if you find yourself in a really bad predicament, you need to know what counts you need for the next section, so that you can always kind of plan on that in advance. So even as early as this, even though we're minutes away, be thinking like, how many supers, number 1, how many supers are mandatory? Number 2, how many supers would I need, like, optimally? Because you don't have to super the boss door, for example, but you gotta super the green doors.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, generally, like, yes, you can just missile the eye doors, but like, I'm always pissed if get to the eye door, I'm 1 super short. It always really pisses me off. But so, and just a little thing to add, like, as I was saying, if you're got a lot of missiles through this area, like, I am very blasé about how many missiles I use through this next section. And actually, in fact, missiles can help you out a lot through this area. Like, I shoot 2 missiles there, and I just hit this guy with 1 missile. Doesn't really matter in this situation, because, like, like I said, unless you're going to be fighting Phantoon with missiles, you really don't need them. And this is kind of like the last area I find that missiles are really that useful. You kill a cack attack in one missile as opposed to 2 wave shots. A couple of these rooms, I find it simpler to get through by just firing 2 missiles or as opposed to doing a wave shot. So it's kind of like near the end of the usefulness of missiles for the most part. So it's kind of an interesting section for missiles in some ways. So again, talking about, definite drops, you're pretty much guaranteed a super here. So that puts you up to 2. These guys down here have a pretty good chance of dropping supers as well. I don't know exactly what it is, but sometimes you get lucky. There, I got lucky. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to assume I get the worst drops. Like I said before, these B-toms are really good for dropping power bombs. But it is one thing we should talk a little bit about is how what I would essentially call force drops would work, which is if you're either full on an item or you haven't acquired the item yet, then all the percentage to drop that item transfers to the other items that you can get. That's kind of hard to explain, but what that means is these frogs, they have a 99% chance to drop power bombs. The 1% that they don't drop power bombs is they drop small energy. So in this situation, since I don't have power bombs, the 99% chance of getting power bombs it's actually pushed over to small energy. So you notice all these guys, I guess I have full energy right now. They would have all dropped small energy. So it's something to kind of know because it means that in certain situations, a cack attack is a good example. Cack attacks, they have a 1% chance of dropping a large health. But if you're full supers, then it is a guaranteed full health from a cack attack. So it's good to know because sometimes you might be in a situation where you have full supers, but your health is kind of low. And a cack attack will then force a large health drop.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing to understand.
Yeah, would you mind if I took over for just a second to kind of demonstrate that? What I'm going to show is not necessarily old route exclusive, but I do want to show people kind of how you can use this to your advantage. And I am going to discuss something real quick that we haven't technically covered. This is earlier in the old route run, but like this is at the bottom of Green Hill, or Green Hills, excuse me. And so basically, like, I guess ammo management is something where, like, you're clearly not going to have the exact same numbers every single run, but you need to understand what your minimum levels are, and you also need to understand, like, where are the places where you're going to be able to farm the things that you need without, like, really stopping. So not, like, stopping to just try to get to a certain, but, like, picking things up along the way so you can keep moving. And especially for newer players, I would highly recommend that you are, aware that when you get to the bottom of Green Hills, you're about to enter this room that has 2 cack attacks in it that are going to be very good opportunities to farm for those supers that you're going to want to have. And so basically, you want to, when you get past this elevator, or excuse me, this gate, you're going to want to like shoot when you get somewhere around here, and it should open up the door as you're running through. And you want to hold your charge, and essentially, like when you enter this room, I'm going to save state it. Like when you enter this room, if you're moving and you let go of your charge shot, you won't hit the cack. You'll fire over it. But if you stand still and release, then you'll hit it. So just be aware that this is one of those places where you're basically going to force that cack attack to drop a super, like, 99 point something. I don't remember. Is it exactly 99 or is it like 99 point something?
It's higher. The percentage is measured out of 102%, and it's 101.6% chance out of 102. So it's over 99%.
So there you go. It's a really high number. So anyway, this one is going to be the first one that you definitely want to get. You definitely do not want at any point, like this is a philosophical thing, you never want to really skip free ammo, especially something like a super that's so powerful and going to have so much utility for you over the run. So here in this room, you kill this guy, and usually the strat is you basically just kind of hold your charge shot, and if you release it at the right time coming off of this, then you should be able to farm this one, and then immediately use one to open this door. But that, can maintain a healthy super count before you run down to Crate. And even if you don't necessarily need specifically all those supers, they're really good to have because they end up, as I mentioned earlier, supplementing your regular missile count, which then you can then protect for when you get to the next portion of the run where you're moving into Norfair for the item collection and cleanup, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so Static just made up a good point. This is something that people need to be aware of, okay? When you reach, and y'all can correct me, but I'm fairly certain it's the number is 30. When you reach...
I think it should be below 30.
Well...
I think 30 itself is still...
Well, when you get to 30, you beep, correct?
Yes.
So you get to 30, and that's when you start beeping. But if you're right at 30, you haven't yet triggered the game to force energy drops onto you. So essentially, when you get lower than 30, that's when the game is going to force energy drops. But what most people don't know, and I didn't realize this forever, that the game will continue to force energy drops onto you until after you're above 50 health. In other words, you can actually reach a threshold where you're no longer beeping, yet you can't pick up ammo because the game is going to continue to force energy drops. So that's something that you really need to know. Like, Moss, I bet you can back me up on this.
Yes,
I was going to say, I bet you've literally lost like good paces in low ice or some of these other categories because of situations like this where you don't get the ammo that you need.
Yeah. In fact, actually, you have to be above 50 by the time the next drop spawns. So if you go above 50 and then dip back down below 50 before the next time you kill something that spawns a drop, you'll still be health bombing, because the check to know if you shouldn't be health bombed anymore is it checks when the next drop is spawned. Mm-hmm. So there are situations where you might get above 50 and then take damage and go back below 50, but not below 30, and you're still going to be health bombed.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's a very important thing to understand. Usually you have a pretty good check for it because you'll hear the beeping. So that helps a lot to know. But yes, you got to be aware that, CAC attacks are not going to drop supers if you're going to get health, if you're below 30 health.
Okay,
yeah,
so that's what I want to cover now. And so again, we're talking about ammo management, like we're obviously putting it in the context of old route, but I'm going to show a room to show you how you can manipulate a little bit of the RNG. And I really would very much encourage newer players to not overlook this as a skill set in this game. The difference between a boss fight or a certain room or whatever being like fast or really slow can sometimes come down to how well you managed your ammo, not only like how you used it, but how you picked it up along the way. So this is like, new route or low ice stuff or whatever, where you go up red tower early. But let me show you a strat that I use, and it's definitely not the fastest strat that there is. Like if you were to watch Zeus runs right now, like you wouldn't see him running these strats. But I'm going to grab these power bombs, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to try to manipulate the CACs in this room over here to drop like some health or whatever. So essentially, one thing I would like to remind you of is, for anybody who's not aware of the counts, green doors can only be opened by green missiles, but red doors can be opened either by red missiles or one super. But a red missile, would require 5, and a super would only require 1. If you break that down in terms of the damage, the potential damage, and this can actually be very important, especially later on like Mother Brain, it's way faster to shoot a super, and it's technically more damage efficient as well, because you're only firing off 300 damage worth, barring, like a situation like Ridley where he takes double damage. You're only firing off 300 damage worth versus 500 damage worth, and you only have to do it once. But at the same time, you want to be cognizant. There are times where I might have a super but elect to use 5 regular missiles on a red door to save that super for something later. So anyway, Moss made the point about manipulating these drops. So let me grab power bombs, and then I'm going to make my way out here. And so right now I'm, obviously below 100% health. And I'm going to save state right here. So I'm below 100% health. I'm also below my maximum threshold for super missiles. But what I want to kind of show is, like, sometimes you can get in this position I'm going to do a refill real quick, and then I'm going to damage myself so that I can, at least guarantee some health to drop. And I'm also going to fire off just one super. I want this to be a setup to where I'm one super away from maximum. So what I'm going to do is, like, if I jump up here and, like, lay this power bomb and kill both of these guys, look what happens. They both drop super missiles, right? So I grab this one, and then this one is a waste because I'm already full. Like, I can't get a sixth one, and I'm not about to just fire one off in this room for no reason. So one thing you can do is, in situations like this, that power bomb is going to take a little bit longer to reach the second CAC attack and to kill it. And in the time that you have in between when the first CAC drops the super and the second CAC checks the game to see what what it's available to drop to you, you can actually manipulate that second one to drop health. So let me see if I can demonstrate this real quick. So I'm gonna jump up here real quick. Well, hopefully I don't get spiked, okay? So I'm gonna jump up here real quick as it's exploding and grab the super, and notice now there's that less than 1% health drop, but this time it was 100%, essentially because there was no super needed by the game or whatever. So just keep in mind, it's kind of the similar concept that you learn in that Terminator room. You can grab the missile and shoot. A lot of times there's a little bit of like lag in between the time that the enemies are dropping something versus checking something. So I'm going to demonstrate it one more time. Okay, I'm going to try to grab the super as quickly as possible, and then that allows me to farm this and not get a wasted drop. Cool. All right, so it doesn't just apply in this room. It can be applied in multiple areas, but I think it's important to understand that if you see yourself near a threshold or a maximum for a certain type of ammo and you need health, like in a low percent run or any percent new route run, like, when you get to this room, I still want to have as much health as possible because Fantoon can definitely kill me. So, Moss, I'll turn it back over to you and let you continue.
Great. Okay, I'm not too far behind you at this point. So I just sort of tracked forward through all the way up through the Red Tower. So I have 3 supers at this point. We started with 1. I got 2 guaranteed supers. I got 1 from the CAC attack in Bubble Mountain, and I got 1 from the CAC attack right before the Red Tower. So now we have 3. This is, like I said, pretty much at the minimum that you can do in order to get through the next area. One thing to kind of remember about this part right here, you're supposed to go down here to get power bombs. There is a CAC right here, though. So if you are a little low on supers, you can grab 1 here before you go down to get power bombs. And that way you get an extra one. You go down and get power bombs, and then when you come back up, you get 2 more. So it's a very small time addition, but if you feel really low on supers or you mess up or whatever, you can do a really quick farm right here. Just shoot them twice, grab that, and you're on your way down. Okay. One thing to note, I mentioned that these zeros have a 100% chance or close to of dropping power bombs. I don't have power bombs right now. So if you kill them, they're going to drop small energy every time. But when I come back through this area, they will give me power bombs every time. Okay, so let's just go through, grab our power bombs. All right, so here's kind of an interesting one. Kind of the same thing we were just talking about how if you're full on power bombs, like I said, if you kill these guys, you don't get a power bomb drop from them. But when coming into this room, actually, let's reload. When you come into this room, if you jump up here, lay the power bomb, and then kill the guy, so you see now he drops a power bomb. And that's because I shot him after I dropped a power bomb. So that's a really fast way to grab an extra power bomb. You don't technically need it, but it does help you to get full power bombs leaving this room. If I don't have full power bombs leaving this room, I'm a little concerned because it means I have to hope for a power bomb drop from the crabs in order to get enough power bombs. I think that's right. Yeah, enough power bombs in order to do an X factor, 2 X factors. So it's good to make sure that you come out of here with full power bombs. So I'll just show that the way I do it one more time. Actually, I can just load. I just hop up here. I shoot up, I jump, lay a power bomb, come back down and shoot that guy, and then I'm guaranteed another power bomb. So we're back to full. Okay, so on that way back up, you can kill both cack attacks however you want. And you're probably... Oh, I shouldn't be at that many supers. Let's drop down. We're at 1 super missile. And we'll just refill that. Okay. So you're probably either at 4 or 5 supers at this point. We'll say we're at 4. You would have 5 if you jump up and farm the cack attack before you go down to power bombs. But let's say we didn't do that. We're at 4 supers at this point. So you need to use a lot of supers and a lot of power bombs in the next area. This door should have been reset, but power bomb opens this door, so you're at 4. Another power bomb opens this door, so you're down at 3. But these guys have a 60% chance to drop power bombs, so I always farm both of them on the way through. Most likely, I'm going to get at least 1 power bomb. My ideal is to get 1 power bomb and 1 large health. That's what I'm hoping for in most situations, because you want to have a... It's nice to have an extra health boost coming in through this area if you want to do Ocean Fly and then fight Fantoon, which can take a lot of health off. So you're going to lay another power bomb, and then you're going to have to... man, I haven't done Ocean Fly in so long. Let's see if I get it first time. And then if you want to use a super... Yeah! If you want to do a super on that door, you're wasting another one. Not wasting one, but you're using another super. So we're down to 3. This takes us down to 2. So you can see this ammo is going down really fast. So we're going to use 2 more supers coming through here. Man, I don't remember any percent strats anymore. Okay. 2 more supers, and we're essentially done with... We're out of supers at this point, which is fine. You'll notice that because I'm at full... I left the... Actually, I think it's because I grabbed an extra drop. Yeah, because I grabbed an extra power bomb drop on the way up to Ocean Fly, I now have 3 power bombs. That's great, because it means, like, if you happen to get flame lamed or miss or whatever, you have another opportunity to do another X Factor. Plus, if you fail Fantoon pretty badly and you get health bombed, leaving here with getting health bombed and having 1 power bomb is really, really good. So ideally, you kind of want to leave here with 1 power bomb.
Okay, so Moss, to piggyback on what you said, I think this is just a good example of, everything that Moss is saying is really, really good to think about. Like, he is already in advance knowing what situations could arise and planning and dealing with those in advance. A lot of times I try to look at runs as not just like in a PB situation. Imagine yourself in a race or something like that where, you don't have the opportunity to reset. You really need to know how to deal with all these situations. So, knowing what kind of ammo you need after Fantoon, it's like, if you really think about it, you're planning for the next phase in every phase. So you're thinking about, what do I need for the rest of Rex Ship? When you're getting to the end of Rex Ship, all right, what am I going to need going into Meridia? At the end of Meridia, what am I going to need going into Lower Norfair? So, pay attention to everything that Moss is talking about with these, because it might not seem like a big deal now, but it will definitely catch up to you later.
It can save a run for sure.
Big time.
So I mentioned this before. It's good to practice worst case scenarios. So I'm going to leave this room in a worst case scenario situation. So I used all my supers to get to Fantoon. I used all of my power bombs to kill Fantoon, and my health dropped below 30. So I get health bombed from Fantoon, so I get no drops from him. So that means I'm leaving this room probably with full health, but we'll just go with 227. And I have no supers and I have no power bombs. This is a bad situation to be in, but it's good to understand how to deal with something like this. A lot of this kind of hinges on the way you want to do the attic, but there's kind of we can talk a little bit about attic, but Oh man, I forgot how to do this this strat now. Okay, so we're gonna go in here. We're gonna get 5 more supers, so that brings us back up to 5 at this point. I don't really like leaving the attic with less than 4. 4 is like it's like, man, life sucks if I'm leaving at 4. So one thing that's really important, and I mentioned it in my drops section, is that the bulls drop power bombs always. So if you're out of power bombs and you really need one, you can come in here. It doesn't take that long. You can farm off of a bull and grab 1 power bomb. Depending on what route you're doing with the attic, it's really important to have a power bomb to survive getting. Oh right, these guys take a lot of shots with this. It's really, really important to have at least 1 power bomb going into attic. Okay, so there are 2. I mean, there's many ways to do the attic. It's a hard one to kind of talk about in some ways because I now only do left side attic, which is much, 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 much harder. But I save so much time because of the health and ammo management it does for me. I do have I'll put it up in a minute. I have a tutorial on doing left side attic. But so if you're interested in looking at that, I have a pretty simple way of doing it. It does mean you need a stutter 3-tap, but I also have a tutorial on doing a stutter 3-tap. So hopefully, if you want to do left side attic, that will those might help you out. So we're gonna go with the simplest way of going through. If you get health bombed and you have 1 power bomb left, the sort of standard lay a power bomb and shine spark to the left is probably the best option because you're probably going to have a lot of health at this point. So we're just going to go through that a few times. There are some simpler or some safer ways to do it other than like mockballing under and laying a power bomb like this. But this is it's not that hard of a strat to learn. I haven't done it in so long though. So the only thing that's really important aside from that first mock ball and laying the power bomb is that you have to shoot this guy once in order to kill him. He needs 1 wave shot and gets hit by the power bomb. So as I'm mock balling this way, I hold both my angle buttons, L and R. That way, if you unmorph, you're automatically aiming up. So instead of having to push up twice to shoot him, you just have to push up once and you're already aiming at him. So mock ball, L and R, aim up and shoot him. That's sort of the first step. I usually just do like a 1-tap through here, and I usually charge right here at this post. It's a pretty easy one to do if you do it quick enough, because the lag of the power bomb makes it really easy to time your 1-tap. And then for this shine spark, what I use is I just use there's this sort of television in the background. I use sort of where Samus, if I use that as a reference. So when Samus is like roughly at the height in spin jump of these televisions, that's where I shine spark. So that's the visual cue I use. 1-tap, charge, use the TVs as reference, and you should be fine. Now that guy doesn't always get killed. It's sort of a weird thing. I don't know exactly why it doesn't always work, but usually 1 shot will kill him after that. Okay, so still in pretty bad shape. We didn't get very many drops. We're at 5 supers. I guess I could show the other strat really quickly, but the downside to this strat is you lose a lot of health and you lose 1 power bomb, which you're probably going to be pretty low on at this point. The downside to the left side attic is that you lose 1 super. That's pretty much the only downside to it. If you do it properly, you lose 1 super and no health. And that's one of the reasons it's a really great strategy, because your health is so important at this point. Actually, we'll grab the super. Let's say I have 6 supers. If I have 6 supers, I'm probably going for the left side attic strat. I'll show it a couple of times just for fun. It's such a great strat. It's such a great strat to learn. Okay, let's see if I can. I haven't done it in a while because I'm doing new route, but it essentially looks like this. Oop, too early. Okay, well, that was essentially the idea. And if you do it properly, you're only gonna use super. It's a very hard one to learn, though. And if it's kind of one of those things that it's a huge risk. Like if you mess it up, it's really, really, really hard to recover well. But you do often end up with, you only lose one super, and often you grab supers from the key hunters that you kill. Because you kind of run this way, kill this guy, and as you're running back across, these key hunters often drop supers. So you have a good chance of replenishing the one super that you use. So it is kind of a really cool strat to do. One thing that I do, which I don't think a lot of people do in this room, which is my favorite part of my strat, is this first key hunter, you kill with one missile and one super missile, and then you come over here and you shoot a missile at this guy. And so the way most people do that is they select missiles, they shoot, they then select supers, shoot the key hunter again. Then they have to either deselect, which is kind of awkward sometimes, or toggle all the way around to missiles to hit this this atomic. So what I actually do is I come into this room with supers on item cancel. That way, when I shoot my first super at the key hunter, I only have to press item select once, and then I'm on missiles, so I can hit him with a missile, kill him, and then I'm already on missiles, so I don't have to do any more item switching to kill this guy with a missile. So in this room, I only do one item select to get through these first two guys. So it's a kind of an interesting way of doing it. Anyways, it's a very hard strat. Like I said, I have a tutorial on it, so if you're interested, check it out. There's a backup here as well. Something like this. Okay, so we're going to leave here with 4 supers. That's great. Is there anything else to say about the attic at this point, Kipp? We should probably do a whole chat on the attic or something like that.
No, man, I think you covered pretty much everything, most people would need to know, including beginners. I do want to touch on something that's not related to ammo that you just said, though, that I think it's important for people to remember, especially when you're new. I'm a big advocate of, and everybody's got a different approach, but especially if you're new and you're just getting accustomed to the controls, I'm a big advocate of not doing more than you have to do to pull off a strat. Because the more inputs required, the more opportunity to make a mistake. So if you can get a strat with a 1-tap, do it, as opposed to trying to get it faster with a 2-tap or something like that. And then obviously as you get better, you can adjust. But I think it's good to remember that you don't have to do the most advanced way, especially when you're getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'm just going to put this up right now. Here's my, this is my left side attic tutorial. If you're interested in it, it does require a stutter 3-tap, but once I got pretty consistent at left side attic, I pretty much use it in almost every single situation. And it usually means that I get to go through the next bunch of areas really quickly because of it. So you can farm here for health and ammo and whatnot, but there's a lot of enemies in this room, and there's a pretty, probably the easiest way that I found to farm this room is, so all you do is you just hold shot when you come through the door, and you'll shoot one of these guys. If you press fire again, you're going to kill both. So you just hold shot, press shot. You got 2 guys here. You want to avoid that pancake. But if you shoot quickly, 1, 2, and then jump under, then you can kind of get through the room with just little hops. Griffington, yeah, let's talk about that item cancel business. So really quickly about item cancel. If you hold the item cancel button, which in my case is select, and then you toggle over to one of your weapons, I'll move to super, or let's move to missiles for right now. So you see that missile item is now flashing. It means that as soon as I fire one missile, the game automatically puts you back onto your wave shot. So it's a really cool thing to use. There's not a lot of situations where I use it, but there are some times where I want to fire one of each, and it makes it really fast doing that. It's a really cool thing. Okay, so in this room, shoot, jump over these, shoot again. You probably get a third one there, so that's really good. I got a super drop. That's really cool. And then normally you short charge through here. Great. Okay, so this is a really good time because you're just waiting. It's a really good time to think about where your health is, where your ammo is, and where your supers are and where your power bombs are. Missiles don't really matter. Power bombs and supers are the most important thing. So you've got time here. You know, instead of grabbing another beer, you can think about what you're going to do in the future through this area. In looking at this, I would say I need power bombs. That's the biggest thing. So my big mission through this next area is grab power bombs as much as I can. All right. So it's going to be, there's a bunch of places where you can get power bombs way down. Some are guaranteed, some are less guaranteed. These two sizers in this next room, I'm going to show you kind of two options. I always go for Lake Ball here. It's always nice to get it. Oops, I should have had it. I'm just going to set it up where I get Lake Ball. Really? Okay, there we go. Okay, so if I come through here with Lake Ball, it's a little bit faster. So there's kind of, what I always do with these guys is I pseudo screw one of these guys. A pseudo screw will kill them immediately. These guys have, I think, exactly 200 health. So it kills them immediately. And then I just hit the other one with 2 missiles if I want to kill both. So it's a pseudo screw and a 2 missiles if you want to kill both of them. So if I come through with Lake Ball and I charge a shot and come right down quickly, I usually end up killing this guy on the far left, which I prefer. So I kill him, I turn around, hit this guy with 2 supers, and then as I come to the left to grab it, I can shoot the door and come down this way. So it's essentially the same thing if you don't get Lake Ball, but I find it a little bit faster going this way. It's nice to get Lake Ball, but if I don't get Lake Ball, let's do it the other way. It's essentially the same idea, except you're not moving as fast. So your pseudo screw is going to kill the top guy. See, it killed this guy, not the lower one. And so I just do the opposite. So I come through here, I do a little mock ball, I start holding charge, do a pseudo screw, and I kill this guy that way. And then I come over here and grab it. You're hoping for as many power bombs at this point, probably. But see, I got 2 now, so that's great. If you don't get 2, you know, there are ways to kind of continue to control that. Okay, this is another place where I am always checking my ammo and health, because this room you can do it in, you know, a very quick time, skipping everything. But there are a total of 5 items you can grab here. You can grab 2 supers and you can grab 3 power bombs. So there's a lot of things you can grab here, but each one adds additional time. So first super will add 1 second. This one will add probably another second, maybe half a second. So if you're grabbing both of these, it's gonna waste you about a second and a half to 2 seconds. Probably it's worth it though. In most cases, I grab these almost always. If I'm at 8, I'll grab 1. If I'm at 9, I'll skip them both probably, unless my health is really crappy. If your health is full, or I'm sorry, if your supers are full but your health is low, these guys will both drop full health. So it's good to know if you want more health, you can do that. Okay, these guys all drop power bombs. There are 3 of them. The first one adds about 4 seconds to the room. So if you're really low on power bombs, if I'm at maybe, I guess, 1 power bomb, I might consider doing this, coming down and getting 1 of them. If I'm at 0, I'm definitely coming down here. It takes 4 seconds. This is probably another second, and this is probably another 2 seconds. So in total, that's 6 plus 3 plus 2. So it's probably like about 8 to 10 seconds to grab everything. It does set you up well if you're in trouble, but you don't need to grab absolutely everything. That's why it's good to kind of take an inventory when you're coming down the elevator. So I'll grab both of these, and I will probably skip these guys because I have 2 power bombs. There is a faster power bomb. If you only need 1, there is a faster power bomb on the way. I typically don't farm here. You can. You're probably gonna get health or missiles here. Don't fall into the whatever. Yes, poplars. We're heading to that exactly. So if I'm not super low on power bombs, I will skip those guys. And there is a frog right here that always will drop power bombs unless you're health bombed. There's a couple of ways to do this. The strat I use in the new route is I just lay a bomb coming down, I shoot him, and I run back, and it will kill him with the bomb if you do it quickly enough. So you do something like this. Ooh, hopefully you grab him, though. Let's try that again. I love that strat. It's really cool. But if you're doing this route, there's a faster way because you still have wave beam at this point. So while you're falling, if you angle down and shoot right as you pass this protuberance from the wall, right as you pass this, if you angle down and shoot, you'll not only open this block, but this B-Tom will jump right into you. So shoot. See how he jumps immediately towards me? If you do it if you don't do it there, if you just shoot while you're horizontal, you see how it like heads to the right and then turns around and sees me? So it's a really good strat to know. Shoot and then just missile up and you'll grab that drop quickly. All right. So, Kipp, do you ever fill up here?
You talking about like for old route?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I don't recall. I'm sure there's probably been a situation, like a long time ago when I first started, where maybe I have done that. But generally speaking, as you improve, you just find ways of farming whatever you need. I guess I'd put it this way: if you're like really brand new and you're worried about your health going into Meridia and you want to grab that as a safety, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. But as you want to get faster times, it might seem like, oh, I'm just going to run into this room and grab it, but it ends up being several seconds of door transition to get in, several seconds.
Super too.
Yeah, it costs a super, several seconds to fill up, then go back, another door transition. So I would just recommend go ahead and becoming comfortable, and if you even need to, maybe stopping and killing like one extra bug or something in Hellway.
Yeah, but there are a couple of health management things we can kind of get into in a minute that probably, unless you're really, really low on health, you probably won't need to stop here if you use the right strats coming up. So 3 power bombs is ideal. 2, you're rolling the dice a little bit, but not too much because the crabs going through Meridia will almost always 60% will drop power bomb, and there's like 6 of them on the way through. So you're almost certain to get at least 1 power bomb if you need it. So that's another thing to consider. It depends on, I have had it happen where I don't get any power bombs though. So you got to kind of see how risky you're feeling coming through here. Okay. So there's a couple of important health management strats coming up in this next area. This guy guarantees another super, which is always nice. And then you have to power bomb. So 1 power bomb here. You're going to use another power bomb getting to... Oh, all right. Well, I used it anyways. I guess I already broke that earlier. Okay, you're going to use 1 power bomb to open that, and then you're coming up here. So there's a couple of ways to farm crabs. One thing that I like that you can do, if you're interested in doing this, is if you hold a charge as you jump through this door, and you wall jump all the way up, you can just wall jump into this crab, and oh, right, okay. So it's again a 60% chance to drop a power bomb. He dropped health, so it wasn't lucky, but that is 1 crab that you can farm on the way. So that's kind of a cool way. You have to make sure that when you're doing these wall jumps, you have to let go of charge, because if you're holding charge, then you're gonna actually shoot your shot as when you wall jump. You're gonna shoot and you're gonna lose spin jump. So this is one thing that you can do. See, I got a power bomb there. That's nice. Okay, this room is pretty simple. Ooh, it's usually pretty simple. Okay, so coming into this room, this is an important one. This room is really important to understand your health. So you want... I would suggest that you have 60 health minimum going into Botwoon. So in this room, there's a Shine Spark that takes away quite a bit of your health. So you have to know how much health you're going to need for the Shine Spark and whether or not you should do the Shine Spark. So if you have, let's go from best case scenario for health all the way down. So if you have best case scenario, you have 120 health. We don't right now, but we'll assume we do. Just do a one tap, charge here, and just Shine Spark up. It's the fastest, but you see, like, it takes a lot of health. I lost, quite a lot of, you lose about 60 health getting up to here, that route. If you're at, so 120, I would do, that's the fastest one. So 120 or more, that's what I do. If I have 110, I'll do essentially the same strat, but I'll jump up high and then Shine Spark. It saves you about 10 health. So at 110, that's my strat. At 100 health, I'll do, again, same idea. I'll jump up here and then jump again. And that should give you enough of height so that you still end this room with 60 health. If you are below 100 health, you don't want a Shine Spark. I would not advise Shine Sparking. So there is a really great, this is a really important strat. This only takes maybe 2 to 3 seconds more than Shine Sparking, but it saves you, it saves you having to farm health. So the strat kind of looks like this. Oops. It looks it kind of looks like that. More exactly, it looks like this. Nope. Man, I haven't done this one in a while. And then you just wall jump up here somehow. So we'll talk a little bit about a setup for this because I don't know if a lot of people really know this strat. So you want to get right on the edge of this wall. The way that I suggest doing it is do a spin jump into the wall. And if you're doing a running spin jump, you're going to jump pretty high up. So you'll notice like I spin jump into the wall and I head straight up above the platform. The next thing I do is when I'm in the air, I press the shot button. That's going to charge a pseudo screw, which is important later on, but it does one more thing. If you're spinning, if you just tap forward when you're in the air here in spin, you just keep heading forward. Even though I just tapped forward, you see how far forward I moved in this situation? And so then you have to kind of edge your way back. It's not an ideal way to set up. So if you break out a spin by pressing the fire button, shot, and then I just tap right. And you notice I only moved like a hair to the right. It sets you up perfectly on the edge of this platform. So one more time to get the setup. Just a big jump, shot, and tap right. And then you're in a really good position for this. So I run until roughly around here, just past the top. You want to get to here. You don't want to jump from the very top. You will not make the jump. You want to jump from somewhere around here. You can kind of use in the background these kind of cubes as a reference if you want. The reason I do I charge my shot is that if you pseudo screw through this, sometimes that POW amp can troll you. So the pseudo screw just kind of protects you for that. And then you just wall jump off of this. It saves a lot of health. And sometimes, depending on where you're at health, this is a big way of helping you get through this area. There's one more thing that you can do. You can farm. Yes, you can farm these guys. They will, of course, drop a power bomb 60%. DBX has a really cool strat for farming this room. It looks like this. So this is a cool one. If you wall jumped into this room, so you wall jumped off of this platform here, you just hold jump and right all the way to the side here. So you're going to land roughly around here. If you press fire just before you land on the ground, so you want to press fire very low and then start running this way, your wave beam will hit this guy. And then you can hit him a second time with a charge shot. Shot, release. So I just shoot at the bottom of my jump, keep holding charge, angle up, and shoot him like right as I pass him, and that'll kill him. So shoot, charge shot, and then I run past this guy in blue suit and charge a Shine Spark here. That way you kill both of these guys, and you have enough time after charging to run back, grab this drop, and then Shine Spark back up. You don't have a lot of time at the end, though. Probably I think the best you can do is you might be able to jump this high in order to get up there. But it does give you a good chance to get power bomb drops coming through here. Power bombs are pretty important coming through this area. Do you have anything to add to that room, Kipp? Because it's a pretty important room, I found.
It is an important room. I don't have anything to add. I think that you've done a really nice job of explaining all the different scenarios, and I would point out that I remember you teaching me that jump strat for if you're low on health like a long time ago, and it's not something that you're going to have to use all that often, but the key is that if you don't have a plan for that scenario, then you're not going to have any idea how to manage it. So it's really good to have that in your back pocket. Real quick, this is for everybody here. We're still trying to refine, the show and making sure that we're, kind of covering everything we want to cover. So we're really trying hard to keep this under 2 hours for each episode. And so we're at about an hour and like 47-minute mark. So go ahead and run us through Botwoon real quick, and then we want to dedicate at least 10 minutes to having Q&A, because we've had to skip that a few times in the past, but we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to ask questions. So, and then next week, or I guess 2 weeks from now, we'll continue, because there's a ton of stuff to talk about from Dragon or from Botwoon, to the end. So go ahead and finish up the Botwoon section.
Though I would say getting to Fantoon and then getting to Botwoon are kind of the two biggest places in terms of health and ammo management. Once you get past Dragon, you grab plasma, and so you don't use your missiles anywhere near as much. And there are a couple of places where you can farm on the way coming through as well. But these are sort of I would say, in terms of the most important places for ammo management, getting to Fantoon and then getting to Botwoon are the two places that I think are the most important.
Yeah, and we're talking about ammo management, but I would open it up to just overall general management too of your health. And I think as you get better at the game in Old Route, I think Dragon to Lower Norfair and then through Torium becomes less problematic health-wise, but especially for newer players, I think that can be a tough section. So we'll kind of cover some things to make sure that people stay protected.
Yeah. Okay, so we won't talk specifically about Botwoon strat. The reason that you want to take 60 health into Botwoon is he does 30 damage, and for optimal strats, you want to be able to take one hit from him. So that drops you to 30. That means you don't get health bombed in this room. You want to avoid getting health bombed in this room, but sometimes it happens. And then at this point, you're probably going to... you're probably good on everything. The only thing that you might be worried about is supers at this point. So this is actually a great room for farming. These, I don't remember what these are called. Puyos, maybe? These guys, they have pretty much a split drop percentage on missiles, health, and power bombs. They have a 2% chance to drop supers, but sometimes you get lucky with these guys. So you want to kill all of them. You want to find a way that you can kill... I killed 2 on the way there to the E-Tank, and then 2 on the way back. And then I do a little jump to grab these, and then I'll grab these ones on the way back. So it's a really nice place to farm up. You want 2 supers leaving this area. And if you don't, then you need to farm supers in the next... I mean, you don't need to. It's advisable to farm 2 supers coming up. So you can farm supers pretty well from these guys here. They have a pretty good chance to drop. They dropped a bunch of supers there. That was 4 supers out of 5 guys, so that was pretty good chances. Or no, 3 supers out of 5. A really good strat that I like to use here is, since I'm running through here, I actually charge my Shine Spark right around here, and I just do a little angled Shine Spark. Oops, I need to do a 1-tap. And then your blue echoes just kill all of them, and then it's really quick to grab the drops. The nice thing is it means you don't have to go deep into the sand. Sometimes if I'm getting down here and I'm farming, then getting out is like a pain in the ass. These guys hit you and you get sort of trapped. So it's kind of nice to have to be able to farm those guys without getting deep into that sand pit. So that's fine. I have 2 supers, so I'm good. And then you're pretty much that's all you need for the next bit, getting through to Dragon.
Yeah, and we'll cover Dragon and on through the end of the game next week, which I really again, ammo in particular will become a little bit less of an issue, but it actually will be very important to discuss Torian because, in particular for I think newer players, there's a lot of times where they might not be fully aware of the counts or how things work or how to manage different scenarios you can find yourself in by going through there.
Yeah.
So thank you, Moss, for leading the way on the ammo management. I think so far we've managed to cover a lot of really important things. So guys,
yeah, that was the most important section to talk about for sure.
Yeah, so at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the Q&A. We're at an hour and 51 minutes. So we'll dedicate about 10 minutes to the Q&A. And one thing I do want to say before we finish the Strat Chat is we're in the process of continuing to try to make areas of growth to the Strat Chat. And one thing that we're going to do is have new layouts and some other visuals that are specific for the Strat Chat episodes. And I just want to do a quick plug for Kona Chocolate. Kona Chocolate is a guy who has been really helpful to me over the last year in terms of not only layouts and visuals, but like emotes and stuff like that. So he's working on a Strat Chat exclusive layout that he's going to help provide for us to make this look even crisper and better. So make sure I'll post his Twitch channel here in a minute. Make sure that if you have anything that you happen to be looking for, make sure to check out his channel because he can definitely do some great work for you.
Yeah, Kona did my overlay or my. It looks great.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, at this point, we're gonna open it up to questions, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a question like Moss typed in the chat. It doesn't necessarily have to be a question about what we asked tonight. Although, depending on how complex it is, we might sort of table it. Like if somebody, for example, asks a question about like fighting Fantoon, well, that kind of question can take a really long time, and we actually plan to do a pretty deep dive on the bosses in the relatively near future. So, but if you have any questions about room strats, either for Old Route or really anything else that that we run, we're more than happy to use this time to answer a few questions that can sometimes be harder to answer when we're in the middle of doing runs on stream.
Yeah. And if we don't get questions for right now, let's say, how about I just walk through Chronic Boost for fun, because I think it's a good strat that's not too hard to learn actually, until someone posts a question maybe. You good with that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Ask that again.
I was thinking that until we got some questions. Okay, here we go. Any percent wasteland exit strats, spike platform, shaft, and Esgigas. Let's head there.
Yeah, go for it. I will put it back on you for a moment, and then I'll head that way too, and we can talk about it. But go right ahead, Moss.
Okay. You're maniacal. Are you meaning old? I'm guessing you're meaning old route. I'm going to talk that way unless you say otherwise. Okay, so if we're doing old route, we got all of our items at this point. We're like a tank. So let's just head down there. Okay, old route, great. I'm just gonna kill Ridley. I did it. Okay, that's the fastest Ridley fight we ever had, guys. What is red? Red is a color. I don't know what else to say about that, Canadian Owl. Okay. So I'm just taking damage. I'm just doing it sloppy to get down there. It's been so long since I've done old route that I'm like kind of forgetting how to do a lot of this stuff. I remember the strats, but tying them together. Sorry, this is spike platform shaft. Okay, great. Short hop mock ball. Okay, yeah, we can do that after Gunstar. I was actually going to talk about short hop mock ball. You can, if you want to practice short hop mock ball, put on speed booster and practice on the new bridge. It is like a very unforgiving location to practice short hop mock balls. Okay, so I'll show you my strat. Kipp, do you want to come down to this area too and maybe talk about what you would do here? Or
yeah, I'm gonna head that way. So what was the what was the question about specifically?
Well, we've got exit of wasteland and spike platform shaft, and so the spike platform room that I'm in essentially.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I
so
was answering some questions. I'll be right there.
Yeah, so there's a number of ways to get up to this location here. I just wall jump off of all these little platforms, but you can do other things. You can do one big jump and then one wall jump or something like that to get up here. This stuff is not too important at this point. I already select power bombs at this point. Up here, I shoot from an angle over here. And then the cool thing about this spike platform is you can hold right. Like, you can run right into this platform. See, I'm actually holding right, butting into that one, and it doesn't hurt you. But as soon as you're able to run onto the platform as it descends, you run perfectly onto it. So I just wait and then jump up like that. And I believe I used to just lay a power bomb right there as I would come up. Yeah, so I'll lay a power bomb, and then I'll come up this way. Okay, so coming out of this area, if there's a couple of things that you can do. What I used to do, let me put on power bombs here. So I will try to use the invulnerability of the power bombs to jump up to this location here. But one thing you can do is once you lay the power bomb, you can come up here with a charge shot, shoot straight up when you're jumping, and if this guy's in your way, you'll kill him. Sometimes he won't be in your way, and you just get right over here. But sometimes he will be in your way, and that covers it. So I shoot up, hold a charge, shoot up and jump. See, he's out of my way now. Then I hold a charge shot right here, duck and shoot. And if you move forward after you shoot, you should kill both the lower Death Giga and the higher Death Giga in one go. So lay a power bomb, shoot up, hold a charge, shoot up and jump, shoot, follow that one. Usually that kills both of them. Then right here, let's get rid of this guy. I hold a charge shot, and then I do a stutter, probably stutter 3. You don't need to do a 3, you can do a 2 or whatever, really. But that's what I like to do. I find it just more consistent for me. You could probably do a 2-tap. It's going to mean the jump at the end. It's really small, though. So that I'd rather make sure I get this jump. 1, 2. You might even be able to get away with a 1-tap. I haven't checked that. Let's try. You can, but the jump is crazy small. So a stutter 2 is probably fine. And then you can do like a little mock ball 3 if you can. If you don't, you just use a power bomb. So I mess it up. I use a bomb. I just bomb that. It's one of the reasons that I like to do a stutter 3-tap here is you can do a pretty big mock. See, like that's one of the reasons. So if you're okay with stuttering, but not so much with short hot mock balls, that's the way I would do it. All right. So coming up here, just lay a bomb. I usually lay a power bomb right as the middle of the door sort of passes off screen. So sort of around here, I'll lay a power bomb if I have enough. In this situation, I'll probably just bomb it. And then coming up here, this room sucks. These guys are really hard to manage, know which way they're going. I would try to take maybe 1 damage here. That's what I'm aiming. If I can take 1 damage, I'm feeling okay. You can kind of run under them. You can shoot through them, so you can kind of hitbox them. If you shoot as you pass through them, you don't take damage with plasma. This area is probably the scariest part right here because these two guys can be right here in this like area of death. So I often will jump if I'm in trouble in this area and they're in a weird position. I'll often jump and morph immediately, and sometimes I'll actually be able to make it all the way up. So avoid, try not to get hit. If you do, see, I still made it up. That's kind of what I do. You want to take, if you take 1 hit, you're usually okay. Taking 2 hits can be pretty bad, though. That's I think that's about it for that room. Anything to add to that, Kipp?
Yeah, I'll just show a couple things that are very similar to what Moss does that might be a little bit, sort of friendlier to new players, and then we'll kind of cut it from there. But I will say that, Lower Norfair is a place where I don't think it's too awful to learn some medium level strats that will make your life a lot safer and start cutting a lot of time for newer players. And I think this is a good place to start. So if you're looking for, and also remember that, technically you can go find what Zost or anybody else does in all these rooms, or, relative to old route, you can find the fastest old route runs and see what the strats are. But that doesn't mean that you can necessarily implement those strats super easily immediately. So sometimes it's good to find a middle ground and then, continue to work to add or to shave time in specific rooms. So one thing you can do if you're kind of new is just kind of do one jump. Just jump right off there, and then it gives you a second or two here to get your power bomb queued up. And what you can do is you can actually shoot up, and it usually will go ahead and knock out this little thing, right? So what happens is if you select your power bombs, you jump one time, you shoot up, you wait, and you immediately, fire off that power bomb and get into place to charge. That way you don't really have any wasted time. So it's similar to Moss's strat, slightly slower, but usually maybe a little bit more friendly to not make a mistake like accidentally running into that platform or something like that. So you drop your power bomb just like he did, you go ahead and charge your shot. If the guy's there, it's going to kill him. You duck, and at this point when you're right here, you're already charging your shot, and so this guy hasn't come onto your screen yet. In fact, I would imagine that I could get here and like even do a save state, like there he is, right? So if you let go of your charge shot and then immediately start your stutter and tapping, you should give yourself opportunity to get that Wasteland speedball, which I would recommend. Like, this is a pretty tough strat when you're, when you haven't been playing for too long, or, you're working your way towards faster times. But I think this is one worth working on and
it's
grinding.
Worth trying, even if you miss it. Like,
yeah.
You're not losing time if you miss it.
True, but I think like it's a good one to work on as an in general, because it does save a pretty good amount of time. And I think the skill set translates to other areas, because you end up getting a little bit more accustomed to those stutters and two taps and stuff like that. But as an in general, this is an easy way to do it. And let's say you mess up, like you said, well then you just jump down here and lay the bombs and you're on your way. One thing about this room right up here. Oh, actually, let me talk about something else just real quick. I am not a hundo aficionado by any stretch of the imagination, but I did notice a cool strat, and I'm sure I do it slower, but I noticed a cool strat that, some of the top end guys were using in this area where they use like the spring ball, essentially.
Oh yeah.
To get through. So let me just show kind of my setup, because I feel like it's pretty beginner friendly, or I guess medium friendly. But I'm not a hundo specialist by any stretch. But essentially, what you can do in this room if you have spring ball equipped is if you get the correct jump, then you can kind of like basically turn into a ball and sort of, I guess, reverse KO through. So the way it works for me is I just get like, I hold dash, I kind of line myself up with just a little bit of room to get a little bit of speed, and then I essentially press left one time so that I'm moving up, like I'm moving straight up as opposed to like left to right. And then I let myself go the full distance, get a little bit below those spikes right here before I use my space jump to turn into a ball. And if you do it correctly, not only will you make it through, but you'll actually get popped up like that. And at that point, you can start doing the normal strat if you want to, even with plasma beam. But I guess in this case, you'd already have screw attack, and you can screw through some of those guys. But that's just something to think about. But I would basically reference the same thing Moss said about I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of the room, but it's the room after Wasteland when you're heading up that has the three key hunters in it. Not the three musketeers room, but the one prior. One thing that I've used that's helped me is when I bomb those little blocks individually to get out, if you move back to the right a little bit, and sometimes I try to use the visual cue, like I will have my ball completely disappear behind the previous little wall. If you do that a few times, sometimes you can manipulate that key hunter to be a little bit further to the right and kind of help you get underneath him, which is especially helpful in other categories like low percent, where you really, really don't have any other method to get through other than just dodging them, because you can't plasma through them. So sometimes that can be very helpful, and I would just kind of recommend that if you want to work on that, there are things you can do to make it more consistent, but you kind of want to get the feel for that on your own. Sometimes I do it the same way 2 times and it doesn't necessarily work exactly the same. So you just kind of have to get accustomed to what the patterns are going to look like once you get out.
Yeah. Can you just switch it back to me once really quick? Gunstar mentioned short hop mock balls. I just want to talk about that really quick. So actually just today I was thinking like the ultimate place to practice. This is the ultimate place to practice short hop mock balls. If you turn on speed booster here, like if you jump too high, you hit the spikes. And if you don't mock ball properly, you fall through the floor. So this is kind of like the ultimate place to practice short hop mock balls. It's very hard here, but if you can do short hop mock balls here, you can do them pretty much anywhere. It's just, I thought it was kind of funny. So I'm just going to quickly I'm just going to quickly look at the backup for the early supers room. Gunstar was mentioning having problems with that trick. So let's just do that to finish off the night. It is very good to have a backup for that room. So let's just say, well, whatever. We'll come into the room and I mess it up. You can do a short hop mock ball right through here. It's true. You actually don't really need to do a short hop if you start right at the edge here. Like if you just get a little speed and do a full jump, you can still make it under. You don't have to run far in order to do the mock ball. You just have to run a little bit. So like just after you push run, you don't have to even do a short hop. You just hold jump and you'll hit this ceiling. It does take some practice and that'll work fine. I have a cool backup strat as well that I was messing with. If you use the edge of this pipe as a reference, when the edge of this pipe passes off screen, so if I run this way, just run onto the bridge, and I jump right as the pipe passes the edge of the screen, do a full jump. So there. Oops. Oh, I gotta turn off my items. That should be fine. So if I do a full jump right as that passes off screen, it puts me in a position where I mock ball right on this post here. And so you don't have to do the short hop mock ball. You can try to just do a full jump here, just full jump and mock ball through, and you'll get right under. So I thought that was a kind of a cool backup strat. It's nice because sometimes, if I come through this room and I mess up the mock ball, for example, I sort of end up in a position where it's hard. You have to, like, if I do this and I mess up like that, I have to turn around, I have to kill that guy, and then I have to run back to try to do the short hop mock ball. So this one, if you mess up, oops, you can still run ahead. You don't have to lose any time. I mess it up and I can, do a mock ball through there. It does take practice for sure. It's a good one to learn though. If the thing I kind of find is like, I just go for it. And if I don't land it, then I reset at that point. But it's good to have a backup there for sure. Definitely worth practicing. There's been a couple of situations where I've done that. I actually do a short hop mock ball to get up through there, but that's a very nice visual cue to do that mock ball. Yep, I guess that's everything. You got anything else to say, Kipp?
No, I think that's going to be it for tonight's Strat Chat. So, again, as I mentioned, we're going to be having some new layouts and visuals next week. And once again, thanks to Kona Chocolate for helping us out with that. And next week, our main topic of conversation will be, will continue to be ammo management, for old route from Dragon through the end of the game, which, again, I think is very important that newer players learn, a lot of the math behind everything and just be aware, because I can't tell you how many times I have watched newer players, soft lock themselves in Torian or something like that, mostly because they just weren't aware of what they needed to know. So we'll work on that next week. But once again, we want to give a big shout out to Edu207 for coming in and chatting with us. Make sure you guys, if you haven't, follow him, although I'm sure everybody here has. But for anybody watching the VOD later, give him a follow. And that's going to be it for this week's Strat Chat. I'm actually not going to highlight this one because I'm not going to stream after this. I'm actually going to go to bed here shortly. I've got a lot of work-related things to do. So unfortunately, I'm not going to stream beyond this tonight, but I will be on later this week, and I will do a little Super Metroid, but I'm about to take a bit of a break from the game and do some Link to the Past. Moss, what are you going to be working on this weekend?
I'm gonna start doing some new route right after this. So
Sweet.
Feel free to migrate on over to my place if you want, guys.
Cool.
That's it. Just any percent. I'm not, like, as I've said before, I like to just pick one category and grind until I get a goal. 119 hundo, 54 low ice, and now I figure I'm just gonna grind until a 44. And then maybe do reverse boss order after that.
Sounds good. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out, and thank you for contributing to the chat. We hope you enjoyed it. We will see you again for Strat Chat, hopefully 2 weeks from now, on the next Thursday, where we'll have another special guest and some updates. So, good night, everybody. Y'all have an excellent, excellent weekend, and I'll see you later.
Bye, guys.